Okay, guys, so tonight is really, well, first of all, let me give some shout outs. Some of you guys were on the call earlier this past week, but I want to start with just recognizing that we began a contest last Thursday. It's really just an 8-week challenge of consistency. I was just segueing into consistency no matter what's happening in your life. Are you showing up? Do you have a system? Do you have a routine that makes you consistent every day, no matter if a baby just barfed or if somebody broke out an allergic reaction or your boss derailed you for the day, whatever. Do you have a systematic process in place daily to hold you accountable to growing this business? And I, for one, can tell you if you don't have a system, you're not going to grow your business. And if you're not consistent, you're not going to grow your business. And so that's going to be a big portion of the call today, is just process and systems. But before I do that, I want to recognize some folks who've jumped into our 8-week challenge of being consistent, being a business owner, and implementing a process into your day-to-day, or I should say into your week-to-week, and that is the Leader in Action formula. If you're confused about how to use it, go back to our team call that I posted in the thread. If you need a copy of it, I can send it to you after the call. We did, you can even just go to YouTube and type in Melissa Hinault, and you'll find keyword Leader in Action. We agreed and held hands as a team that we would fill out our Leader in Action formula every Monday, no matter where the zeros were, what it looked like. Because it is something that's routine, it makes you consistent, it makes you stop and address where you are in your business. And so I want to give a huge shout out, and I don't want to miss anybody. I want to give a huge shout out to Jennifer Bartram, to Terry Lindbergh, and to Maeva. Who Maeva's not on the line tonight, but I want to give huge shout outs to you guys because you went first. You pulled your benchmark reports, you put your numbers down, and you were vulnerable. You posted it to the group. It's our smaller team community. We should feel open and that we can share with our teammates here and reflect on the work that needs to be done and celebrate what you've done well. So I want to give a huge shout out again to you guys because you went first and you put that information in there. Becky says, I filled mine out but forgot to send a screenshot. Awesome. Yes, it's never too late, Becky. And to begin implementing that every Monday, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, it was very eye-opening to me that I've done a pretty good job, and I'm looking at it because it's right in front of my face. But I've done a really good job. I've done a good job enrolling this month, but I haven't converted anyone to consultant yet. No rank advancements. And so shame on me. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. So shout out to you girls. Secondly, some of you guys are rocking the 3-way calls. You're using my calendar. You figured out how to request. I get into my email every day, and I'm like giddy at those of you who are requesting my time. So continue to do that. That's how you grow. No matter how long you've been in the organization, pull me in. But tonight is about process, and tonight is about systems. And I'm going to share some stuff with you that I pulled some old stuff that I leveraged and leaned on when I was building and working full time. And if you really want like the blueprint, the original blueprint, I actually bumped it to the top of the Global Exec Team Facebook page today. If you go in there and scroll down, you'll find a post I made when I was still working full time and I only had 2 kids. Wyatt wasn't even born yet. And you can read my post and I think you'll find it insightful. But tonight is all about process. But before I step into process, I do want to just give one little blurb on the fact that you can have the best process in place. You can have a blueprint and system in place and know exactly what to do every day. But if your vision and your belief of who you're becoming and the business you're growing and the place that you want to be, if you don't have that vision, if you don't see where you're going, if you don't believe in what you can achieve, you're not going to take action. I can give you step-by-step ABC 1, 2, 3 and tell you exactly what to do. but you're not going to do it until you have the vision and the belief in yourself that you can do it. So I want to throw that out there because I know for me, I didn't really get serious about this system. I didn't create this system until the day I walked away from a university in action and finally had the belief and the vision of the business I could obtain. If you guys, I just want to put that out there because today is about system and process. So I'm not going to go into belief and vision, but if you're still lacking in that space, you know, reach out to your upline, reach out to me. We can give you some resources. We can coach you on that. But I can promise you that if you have the belief, you begin to get really uncomfortable with where you are. Okay. And what I mean by that is I was miserably comfortable where I was for a long time, but I wasn't miserable enough to take massive, consistent action daily. And I didn't take massive, consistent action daily until I finally believed I could actually do it. And I finally began to see the life I could be living. And then I started to feel pretty miserably uncomfortable in the space I was in because I knew the place I could go. Am I making sense? Like you're only gonna take that extra step. You're only gonna make that time and check these boxes that I'm gonna share with you guys tonight. If you truly believe that you can do it. And the reality is you absolutely can. And the only thing that's holding you back is you, right? It's your consistency. And that belief. Okay, so I'm going to quit preaching on that because that's not what the call is about tonight. But I do think that there is definitely a lot of self-work that always has to be continually loved on and nurtured there. Even in today, where I am in my business, I can see where when I'm not taking as much action, I need to reignite my vision of where I'm going. Okay, all right. Process. So I actually found my old presentation that the Cepedas asked me to present to when I was still working full-time to one of their Super Saturdays. And they wanted me to present on process and organization of growing a business while working full-time. And I've been getting a lot of questions from a lot of people lately on process. And because we've been doing a lot of personal development, but maybe not simplifying it so much to just simplified process, like just tell me what to do today, tomorrow, and the next day, and to how to do it consistently. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. Anybody who wants this slide deck in the Run With Me thread, just throw your email address in the thread tonight, and I will send you the deck on this. I'm also working on a spreadsheet that you can download and print and fill out and track each day for yourself. So if you guys want that information, just drop your email address in the messenger thread, okay? Now all right, we got some chat here. I just messaged my Ava. Hopefully she will get in. Okay, yeah. Yeah, my Ava's been pulling me into three-way calls. Okay, let's see. Share. Hey, Christine, I see you hopped on, girlfriend. Sorry, you guys hear the washing machine in the background? That's me washing vomit off my son's sheets. So one problem about this office is it's like right by the laundry room. Okay, can you guys see this? And oh my gosh, who's excited about Super Saturday this weekend? I'm so excited to see some of you guys. Terry and Dawn, you guys got to let me know what you want to do tomorrow night, if you guys are staying with me or not. All right, here we go. Look at that short hair. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to give you guys kind of cliff notes because I want to run through the spreadsheet that I actually put together too. But in this presentation, what I did, let me hit play. The goal of the presentation was to, hang on, I can't move this. Can you guys see the full screen? Okay, then I won't worry about where your face is, because you guys are on my screen. But to give you real world, tangible time management tactics to create income producing activities. The big focus I want to talk about tonight is the 3-step process called the 3 I's. That's the piece I really want you guys to take notes on. But let's just start with where I started in the presentation, and that's a gut check. And it's really, how much time are you willing to commit? And that really takes me back to my original comment about your vision, right? And your belief. Because when your vision is clear on who you want to become and the business that you want to grow and the place that you know you can be, I can guarantee you're more willing to commit and take action daily. When I had a deadline and I knew exactly when I wanted to quit my job, my fanny was in action every single day, like my life depended on it, because it did. So ask yourself, how much time am I willing to commit weekly? Really take a step back and look at your calendar, right? And ask yourself, I'm going to say that, let's say you're willing to put in 8 hours a week. I'm going to tell you right now that it's not a good spend of your time to say, I'm going to spend 8 hours a week and it's going to be all on Saturday and Sunday. Because consistency daily is key, even if you're just doing 30 minutes a day. Everybody has 30 minutes a day, even if it means you have to lose a little bit of sleep. Look, I cut out a little bit of the gym and a little bit of sleep to grow my business while I was working full time. I got a little fluffy and I was a little bit sleep deprived. But now I can work out whenever I want and I can sleep whenever, well, sort of whenever I want if I didn't have kids. So the other thing is, do you have support at home? Like your children, your spouse, do they support you in this venture? Because I can tell you right now, before you hunker down and start committing a lot of time to this, you really need to involve your family in really committing to and helping them understand what life is going to be like when you pursue this, when you achieve it, and asking for their support and their help. I know Jennifer does a great job with that, and Dawn does too, just getting that support from the family. And then you map it out on the calendar on a weekly basis, how you're going to do it. I'm going to go through a calendar I've put together for you guys in a little bit. But I still think it's a good exercise you guys can do this week, is to look at your weekly activity. Look at your weekly routine and figure out where are blocks of time that you're consistently willing to grow this business. Because we all say, and I say, that I built this business in the pockets of my time, which I did, but it was consistent, methodic pockets of time. It wasn't haphazard, like I did it when it fit into my life. I consistently made it fit into and around my life. Do you understand the difference? Like it's not a second thought of, well, I'll work on my business now because I've got 15 minutes. It's every day I'm committing to working on my business for 15 minutes at this time, right? Okay. So the next thing is eliminating distractions. How many of you are like, okay, I need to jump on Global Exec and grab this call information, or I need to jump on Run With Me and find XYZ. And before you even get there, you've squirreled on social media and you're like watching somebody else's video. All of a sudden you're like looking at bathing suits on sale, like whatever, ads coming through your feed. Like I've done this. And then all of a sudden you're like, why the hell was I even on Facebook? I can't even remember what I came in here for. Does anybody ever run into that? Or is it just me, right? So we have to eliminate distractions when you're working your business. So for one, if you're going into social media, for instance, if you're going into social media to update a post, create some branding for yourself, make a post, you need to remind yourself to go to your page directly and make that post and get out. Because if you've only got 15 to 30 minutes a day to work on your business, you just don't have time to squirrel through social media. It's such a time suck. The second one is Messenger and email. How many of you are guilty of when you wake up, the first thing in the morning that you do is check your Facebook page for likes and comments from other people, or you check your email, or you're checking Messenger. You're checking other people's life and other people's activities and other people's needs, even mine. If you go on to Messenger on our team page and I'm like posting stuff, like you want to get to what's important to you first during the day. You want to address what's going to be income producing activities for yourself. Like, and I practice what I preach, and you guys have probably noticed this about me. The first half of my day is focused on income producing activities that I'm committed to, like connecting right now and building my network. And you'll find that it's the second half of the day that you're getting responses from me and text messages from me. Because if I'm in the middle of crafting content for social media and all of a sudden I get a message and I stop what I'm doing and I respond to a message and then I try to come back to what I'm doing, it's extremely inefficient, and it slows down your process, and it slows down your thought process. So my suggestion is, you know, when you're laser focused on some of these income producing activities we're going to talk about in a minute, turn your phone off, turn your notifications off, get in the zone and do what you're committed to doing. And the same with the family and the gym. I talked about this earlier, but you know, if you're working out 5 or 6 days a week right now and you're saying you don't have time to build this business, but you want to make $100,000 a year with this business, then I hate to tell you, but you might have to skip the gym 2 days a week and work on your business if that's the only time that you have. Okay, so that is that. If you're distracted by children at home, one of the things I did when I worked full time is by the end of the week, if I hadn't done everything I needed to for my Isagenix business, I would get my husband's blessing and I'd go to a coffee shop for 1 or 2 hours when it would least disrupt the family. I'd get up at the crack of dawn and go bang out some work where I wasn't distracted by the kids, and then come home and spend the rest of the day with the family. All right, this is the meat of what we want to talk about tonight. They're the 3 I's, right? So how do you allocate your time to grow an Isagenix business week over week over week, and how do you stay consistent with that? And I call it the 3 I's. You want to spend a third of your time introducing yourself, and we're going to talk about what that looks like. A third of your time inviting people to take a look, and you want to spend a third of your time investing in yourself and in your team, whether they're product users or business builders. Okay? Now, what's important is when you look at the spread on your calendar is how much time am I spending in each category, right? Some of us tend to, like Jennifer and I are guilty of spending a lot of time on the invest piece. You know, when you're looking at, if you're looking at a month where it's just kind of funny because this month I don't have any rank advancements. So I'd say this month, maybe I'm not spending enough time investing on coaching the people I've enrolled. But my point is, you want to make sure you're not spending all your time prospecting and recruiting a ton. We can turn into recruitment. What's the word I want to come up with? Just like a hyper recruiter. But then if you're just funneling people in and they're just kind of falling off a cliff because you're not developing them, you've got to balance. You have to balance if you want to grow a business, or it'll fall apart. So what is the first I? Introduce. So we talked a little bit about this on Sunday night, and that is the connecting piece. There's different ways that you can introduce yourself to new people, but you want to constantly be expanding your network. You want to and this is for those of you that are brand spanking new, just a couple of months in, this is not going to be as much of a focus as those of you who've been in the business for a year or so. But it's still important that you're constantly expanding your network, and that can be through belly to belly. We talked about this past weekend. Where are you volunteering? What committees are you on? Are you making it a point to get to know people? Or are you just showing up? Like, do you have gyms that you go to and your face is you're so zoned in on your phone that you're not talking to the humans around you and networking with them? Like, put the phone down. Maybe challenge yourself. How many people can I connect with today? So the introduce piece is expanding your network, and there's push campaigns and there's pull campaigns. The push campaign is going to be more of kind of your branding and what you're putting out there on social media. You're pushing out. I call it post and pray. If that's all you're doing, your business is not going to grow. Then there's the pull campaign. The pull campaign is when you're directly reaching out to people. If you're complementing a pull campaign with a push campaign, that can be extremely successful, where you're building a brand, you're pushing out content, you're pushing out just life as who you are, and folding in some health and wellness, kind of occasional power post about the products or the opportunity. And then the pull is you're then directly reaching out to people that maybe like or comment. Or the pull is you're just directly reaching out to people and connecting with them and building rapport so that you can get to a point where you're at a place where you can ask them to take a look. You're building that conversation, right? There's also hosting sip and samples, and I actually just like to call them opportunity overviews, where you and your local team are as a group inviting new people out. So the introduce piece is critical, and it should be folded into your day-to-day activity. Then there's the invite. So you're inviting people to take a look. So like we've got a Super Saturday this weekend. I've got someone driving in from Raleigh. We invited 2 new people from Dave's Gym that are going to be there this weekend. When there's an event close by, and I have this in my income producing activities, it's in my calendar once a month to look at when's the next event, and am I pushing it? Am I promoting it? Am I asking people to come take a look? The weekly opportunity overview calls, right? That should be folded into your like Sunday through Tuesday income producing activities, is who can you invite to take a look? And a way to really create the opportunity to invite people to take a look is to make create some really good engagement, over the weekend through Monday and Tuesday, with people through social media platforms. And when they show some level of interest in what you're doing, asking them if they'd be willing to take a look, right? So like, for instance, in LinkedIn, what I'm doing a lot of right now is when people are asking to connect with me, I'm responding and saying, hey, what was it about my profile that interested you in connecting with me? And then maybe they share something about my profile that they found interesting, and we banter and we go back and forth. And I'm trying to do 5 to 7 touches with them now before I'm like, hey, would you like to build a business with me? But what I'm doing is I'm building rapport with them. We banter back and forth. Let's say that banter starts on Wednesday or Thursday, and now it's Sunday or Monday. And I've gotten to know a little bit about their background, maybe why they're interested in my profile, and maybe they're burnt out too. And then it comes into general conversation that's relevant, and we feel like we know each other a little bit. And I say, hey, we actually have this overview on Tuesday night to really talk about what I'm up to. I'd love your professional feedback. Would you be open to taking a look? If you guys can keep, like, if you get nothing else out of this call tonight, if you can do this one thing consistently, it's going to help you grow your business. If you can, throughout the week, be making new connections, asking people about themselves, complimenting them on what you've recognized about them professionally, and why, I'll have to pull up like a LinkedIn conversation to give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. But the point is, if each week you can begin to build your funnel for prospects to take a look by Tuesday. If you start your prospecting process each week and kind of banter back and forth with people, learning about them, complimenting them, sharing a little bit about your professional background when they share a little bit about yours, it should build up to the opportunity, once you've gained the rapport, to just ask them if they'd be willing to take a look. You can do this each week with a new cohort of people, right? You can make it your goal to do this with 10 people a week, 10 new people a week. Build rapport, go back and forth, learn a little bit about them, and then ask them to take a look, right? Let me give you guys a quick example, because I just want you to hear kind of what I mean by this, because I think examples are really helpful. Okay. So I'm just going to read you guys a little bit of back and forth. This is an example of what you could do each week with 5 to 10 people, okay? Julian, thanks for the request to connect. Curious, I'm always interested in what was it about my profile that motivated you to connect with me. Hi, Melissa. I saw that you are a PharmD who seemed like she was looking innovative, and it's exactly what pharmacy needs. And it's also what I would like to be a part of in the future, innovation in pharmacy. Very interesting. Pharmacy needs major innovation. Would you, so I kind of jumped right into it with this guy, but he talked about innovation, and I said, would you be interested, would you be open to hearing more about what I do and how I was able to leverage my previous pharmacy career to build residual income? He says, absolutely. I said, awesome. There's actually a live video, there's a live webinar, da-da-da-da-da. He says, sure, I'd love to. Send me the link so I can check it out. So this was not the best example because I kind of jumped into it because he was like right in the alley of what I'm doing. But if you innately are trying to get to know more about people versus selling them, and you ask some questions and find some common ground before asking them to take a look, it becomes very natural, right? It's not so salesy. So that's what I'm saying. If there's one thing you take from this call tonight from an income producing activity standpoint, is that weekly, if you generate a list of 10 people, they can be brand new to you that you've found through whatever social media platform or someone you've met out on the street, and you can go make a couple of touches to a point that it makes it natural to ask them to take a look. If you can do that every week, you're going to be running, you will be creating a massive pipeline for your business. Massive. Okay. So that's the invite piece. The last piece I'm going to talk about for a minute, and then I'm going to get into my spreadsheet that I showed, that I created for you guys. So the last I is invest, right? And I think this is the piece that many miss. And part of it is because when you're fairly new, you just don't know what you don't know. You understand the numbers game of recruiting and finding new people, but sometimes we don't pump the brakes to slow down and think about how am I training and supporting the new people I've brought in, right? There's that excitement of getting the enrollment and then moving to the next person. So from an investment standpoint, you want to invest in the people that you're enrolling, you and your team. And so I put here that you want to support new people, especially in the first 30 days. If you can truly stay close to people, product users and business builders, you really need to stay close to for a good 3 months, right? Because people come in and out, they get excited, then they realize that maybe they've got more to learn than they thought they did, and they need your support, right? For new product users, you want to make sure you're putting them on the ramp effect so that they've got that support and that you're walking them through steps 1, 2, and 3 of globalexecteam.com. If you just use globalexecteam.com for all of your investment piece on growing your product users and your business builders, just getting them set up for success, it's really going to help you stay organized because you don't have to remember anything if you lean on the resources. So I always, when I enroll someone, product or business, I have the same welcome email template that I send them that's based off the Global Exec Team website, and it welcomes them to the team and funnels them right to step 1. Whether they're product or business users, business builders, they're all going to start on the product, and they need to know about shake days, cleanse days, and what's in their box. Because when they become a business builder, they're going to want to duplicate that. And if they're a product user, you want them informed. So I make that pre-work for every single person that I enroll. And I make it that they have to have watched the Open Your Box, the Cleanse, and the Shake videos before I'll get on the phone with them, okay? This is for product users and business builders. And if you take the time to do this with everyone you enroll, it seems like it's time intensive. But if you support people in their first 30 days and ensure a really phenomenal journey in those first 30 days, you've got a consumer for life. You've got a business builder who has a leg to stand on because they understand the process. So you bring them on, you make it mandatory that they go to the website and watch the videos on the shake days and cleanse days because you don't want to have to talk about it a million times. You just want to, I schedule follow-up calls after they've watched the videos and ask them what questions they have. So then you're just filling in the gaps. That's also going to be your landing page to coach your business builders because you're just going to shift from the product journey to the actual training on the business, which really walks people through their why and through their goals and helping them identify their crystal deadlines and it's all there, right? So with your product users, you use the Get web page to get them started. With your business builders, I will request, I do this with a lot of you. I'm open to do this with any of you. With your brand new people interested in business, please feel free to get in my calendar and ask for a 3-way call for a welcome and onboarding call with your upline and your leadership team. I love connecting with anybody hungry for the business on our team. So you've got my calendar, and you can include them on a welcome call with me, and I'll be happy to walk you through how I onboard people with the Global Exec Team webpage. That's something you've never done before and you want coaching on it, then bring your next enrollment to a call with me and I'll show you how I do it, okay? You also want to immediately fold them into Global Exec Team calls. The day that they enroll, they need to have the Get Team dial-in information on their phone. What I do with all the new people I enroll is I go to my contacts, I pull up Get with the passcode that's saved in the phone with the saved contact, and I forward the contact to my new enrollment. And I say, save this in your phone. And I also send them the direct web link to the recorded calls. And I say, if nothing else, jump on these calls starting tomorrow morning. If you can't make it at 8 a.m., here's the link. Make it a habit to listen to the recordings, but make sure you make it a daily habit, right? We want to begin that daily habit with our new people. What this is going to do is fold them into the culture, the camaraderie, the support, even when you can't be there, right? When it works for them. You never know if Carol Elizabeth or Chelsea's going to inspire your new enrollment while you're at work, right? That's what leverage is all about. You also want to make sure that you're educating them on pulling them into 3-way calls with their new prospects and with me and anyone in your upline. And then obviously for you, your personal development, so this is the other piece of invest that's really important, is are you spending time to get familiar with the globalexecteam.com? Because I can tell you guys, when I was in your shoes working full-time, we didn't have this webpage. And we had to create everything. And it was mind-boggling trying to keep it all organized. And I know some of you feel overwhelmed and you're not sure where to go or what to do with some of the people that you're enrolling. But I can assure you, if you made it a daily practice for 15 minutes a day, if you went in and studied this webpage section by section for a month, 15 minutes a day, you would realize that everything you need to build this business is in that website, and you can train and forward all kinds of information straight from that website. It is a $1 million tool. Susan and Jessica put it together so they could grow their businesses, right? Okay. Another place that you can spend time investing in yourself is the Get calls. Also, spending time learning what tools and resources Isagenix has to offer, like isagenixhealth.net, Isagenix FYI. You go to our corporate web pages, there's so many resources that you can get lost, but it's good to spend a little bit of time knowing what the company has to offer. Last, but personally, most importantly, in your personal development, I think, is going above and beyond. And that's beyond just Isagenix, beyond Global Exec, finding some trainers that really resonate with you. I have certain podcasts that I love. I'm totally just digging Brendon Bouchard right now, Tony Robbins, Rachel Hollis, Kayla Kraft. I mean, my podcasts are just, I get new live feeds every day, whether I'm in the shower, I'm driving in the car, I'm putting on my makeup, I'm brushing my teeth. Anytime there's dead time, my ears are filled with inspiration and nuggets of how to stay motivated as an entrepreneur. And that's going to keep you in the zone, and it's going to keep you in action. So highly recommend that you do the download. Like Dawn called me today, and Dawn, are you on? I can't see you, but she was stuck in a traffic jam, or the traffic was bad. Let's see, she was on. I think she's gone. And she was like, oh man, there's so much traffic. This is so frustrating. I'm like, dude, whatever. You've been in a corporate meeting all week long. I would love that dead time. Like, do you have podcasts on your phone that you can just pick up and listen to for the next 2 hours in peace and quiet in your car? To me, that's just like amazing. So just be prepared that your development may happen at any point during the day when there's a lull, when you're sitting at the doctor's office for 30 minutes because they're backed up. Are you just sitting there thumbing through their magazines, or are you investing in yourself? Like, just be ready for it, right? Okay. So I've mumbled a lot. I want to share with you guys a spreadsheet that I did, but I'm going to stop for a second because I've been talking a lot. Is this all stuff you guys have heard before? Comments, questions, too much? What are you thinking?
Melissa, I think it's great. I think the system's great. I think everything's great. I continually, even though you share some things sometimes, my hardest thing is my responses. Like, I feel like I do so much of this so well. Mm-hmm. And even though I have information from you, I have information from other people, it's still my responses are what I get. I just feel like I could vomit on someone.
Right.
Because I'm that perfectionist. I want them to have every bit of everything. And I feel like I'm still getting wrapped up on that.
Yes.
But this is fabulous. And seeing it like this and going ahead and putting it on a calendar, I think is huge.
Yeah, Jennifer. And I don't disagree. I think responses are huge. And how do you engage that person and continue going back and forth? The goal is really to get it offline, right? We want to, in the old days, I thought, especially working full time, I tried to do everything through message because I felt like I didn't have time to be on the phone. I didn't have time to actually have that human connection. And I was trying to recruit people through messages. And I have quickly learned that this is a relationships-based business. And these people, especially if you're prospecting for business, they've got to know and trust you. Even though that I'm recruiting strangers off of LinkedIn, we do a good bit of back and forth and touch on the phone for a bit amount of time before they invest and decide they want to join the business. And so, when you guys are getting messages and you're not quite sure what to say, I would love if you guys would continue to share them, like share screenshots of them on the Run With Me thread, and we can coach together as a group, right? So if you're getting a message and you're like, what would you say to this? How would you respond to this? Throw it up there and we can group coach through it. Because my goal is to get people offline as quickly as possible and get them on the phone, because the more you can connect, have a human connection with people, the more they're going to be willing to run with you in the business. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. What was B? That was A. What was my B? I was like, A, this, and then there was a B, and I can't remember what the B was. But yeah, I think that, every response is going to be different, but I think that you'll slowly get into a rhythm. So can we hold each other accountable to that? When you guys are getting responses from people, can we share them on Run With Me? I can start sharing with you guys the stuff that I'm doing. And I think it'll be helpful. Let's see. Awesome use of time, Christine. I spend 12, 13 hours in traffic every week, and I listen to all those podcasts and get calls, morning route to work, and yes, that's right. It's so true, Christine. Guys, if you want to be in action, podcasts are huge, because when you're coming home from work and you've put in an 8, 10, 12-hour shift, it's so exhausting when you get home. I know. I've been there. All you want to do is go to sleep. You don't even want to do the dishes. Like, you don't even want to, you just want to go to bed. And but if you listen to something that's going to fire you up on the way home, it's going to motivate you when you walk through the door to take 1 or 2 more action steps before you call it a night on your business. I used to listen to podcasts at night after I put the babies to bed. I put my earbuds in while I was packing lunches. And I knew I was tired and I didn't want to do it. And by the time I would get done with packing lunches, listening to a David Wood Ramp Up Your Life podcast, I'd be like, yes, I'm working another hour. I'm going to make $1 million next year. Right. So it's like we're in an industry of like what we fuel our bodies is like what we're made of. Right. But what we fuel our minds is also what we become. So what are we telling ourselves and what are we allowing others to tell us? So we can control what's training us and coming into our 2 ears through podcasts, what inspires us to take action. And if you're one of those people who knows you need extra motivation and a swift kick in the ass, then you need to find some podcasts that are going to give you that kick in the ass. Very good points, ladies. Great idea to share on with me. So we'll definitely do that. What other questions and comments do you guys have before I get into the grid I'm working on?
Melissa, can I say something?
Yes.
So I don't know about everyone else. I know some of you guys are really savvy with everything, but I wouldn't even know how to listen to a podcast.
Yeah. So we can totally help.
As that sounds.
No, you know what? So here, you know what, Terry? No question is a silly question because I was in your shoes like 2 years ago when I was working out in the field, and one of my medical science liaisons, we were like chasing each other through Texas to go to a dinner event. She was like, "Oh yeah, I'm listening to some podcasts in the car," and I'm like, "What are those?" So believe me, I had no idea what they were either. This weekend, I will show you. You can download the podcast app, and it's so much fun. And you can fill your podcast with all types of people. I'll show you this weekend. And maybe if I could I don't know how to screen share from my phone. I could do a little video for you guys on how to do this. So I'm glad you brought that out. What I do want to do, Jennifer's making a good point. I'm going to read out to you guys some of the podcasts I'm listening to right now that you may find valuable. So the Brendan Show, Brendan Burchard wrote the book High Performance Habits. Incredible. And his are tiny snippets, like 10 minutes at a time, which is really nice. Your Virtual Upline by Bob Helig. He's incredible. Incredible. Lady says she found them a year ago. Yeah, she listens to them while she's in my house while the babies are sleeping. She's obsessed. She says she listens to all the ones that I recommended. Yep. Let's see, what else? The Rise Podcast by Rachel Hollis. Incredible. I'm going to try to go to her event in November. The Tony Robbins Podcast. I am absolutely obsessed with Kayla Craft. Two Peaches in a Pod, Amanda Hamm and Andrea Labouchere just came out with their own podcast if you want to be inspired by Get Leadership. Millennial Doc. So our own Dr. Nicoletta, she has a phenomenal one I listened to just the other day on product that where she interviews Dr. Paul. And so totally check her podcast out because how valuable is it to be able to share something from a physician on our team who's backing up the product and the business. Can you share your podcast list? Sure. Yeah, I'll take screenshots. GoPro by Eric Worre, incredible. Missing Richard Simmons, that one was just good. It killed a lot of time on the way to Charleston a little while ago. If you're looking for something that's just kind of cool.
I've got a crush on Eric Worre.
Isn't he awesome?
He's kind of cute. He's cute. He's kind of like, he's just kind of sexy, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. In a bald kind of way, I guess. No, you're right. I love his outfit. I love his outfits. Amplified Network Marketing by David Wood. That was like my Bible when I first got into podcast. That was the only podcast I listened to when I was growing this business, when I first really got started. Positive Parenting, probably not necessarily for Isagenix, but if you're a parent out there. All right. Yeah. So all of them really good. Susan Sly. Yeah. Okay. So Louisa's saying, I bet Susan Sly is amazing. Amazing. Okay.
Is it okay if I ask some more things?
Yeah, go ahead, Terry. Yeah.
Okay, so, or even just to comment. So Is there any way, because I've been listening, to all the morning calls, and is there any way to mention to the upline, if there's some way we could get back a little bit to, because what I would love to hear is more about the experiences that people have had who are, maybe on the business side, but how they came into the company and what their product transformation was and how they got started and, their enrollments. I think a lot of times it's really heavy on the push us, but I need to, it helps me to train and learn if I hear the stories.
So do you think, Terry, it would help if people told like their 30-second story before they got started with their presentation?
Yeah, but if it could be more like a 5-minute story, because that's, and especially for new people coming on, for the way for them to learn, if they're only hearing push, they're not gripping on to everything that we are, because we need to learn that part. And I think we're all in this, and I know from top down in the company, I'm sure it's this, try to double this really quickly in the 2 years, but I think people coming into it are so inspired by how we transform. Even if we're business builders, we transform our health and our lives and our fitness and everything else. And sometimes, we hear about, people that, and we all have great stories too, but another thing is we hear a lot about weight transformations or health transformations, but it would be nice sometimes to hear about fitness transformations, because being on the Isagenix challenge, I as much as I'm a slow going person on it, I see in the Isagenix page all these incredible people that have muscles, and they're in the gyms, and it's things I don't know a lot about, but I would love to, because some of our clients can be gyms or gym people, and I honestly feel a little bit uncomfortable speaking to them. And people are asking all the time about people with certain diseases, like someone asked today about someone who had lupus, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would love to get the person on who dealt with that. I think it was Christine had someone that she coached through that, and just to even have Christine one day like talk about lupus, and this person she had, and so just to educate us on what is that disease and how did it help that person, many of the stories I think would be really fantastic to add that in, maybe just to throw Melissa up to the upline on the get calls on that.
Absolutely.
And it just seemed things were a bit, I don't want to use the word desperate, but I know we're all trying to really get people fired up. But I just think if we back it up a bit and go into those cores of why we doing this, we're looking for people that are business builders, but we also have to understand these things that the products do, and how these specific products have helped, and really the people's issues. I love that part. It just inspires me then to go try to get people everywhere, because I'm so revved up by it.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, as Dawn would say. I love what you're saying. And I actually just threw a podcast excerpt from Eric Worre into Run With Me that he talks to exactly this. I would love for you guys to listen to it. But Terry, he hits the nail on the head that like the step one is like know the product and know the products and know the stories, even the stories that aren't compliant. His point was, there's certain things we can't do. We can't go on social media and make claims about lupus, but we sure can know a story about someone within our community of teammates whose lives have been heavily impacted with lupus and make that connection for them. But you're only going to know if you're confident about the stories. So I don't disagree at all. One thing you can do is go to the Ramp Effect page, and you can always type in keywords in the search function, and many times you can pull up certain stories from people.
And I think even if you don't mind, I think even with you and Joe, right? Because you've done these calls several times, but what I would love to hear from you guys, like, okay, let's start with Joe. I would love to hear about the minutia, a little bit more of the minutia of his startups as he was training, the details, what he felt like in the competition, and then how he personally grew his business. Is he going after gyms in his town, across the country? What does it mean to be a part of the athletes division of Isagenix? How does he really roll out his business? And how did he fire his boss? I would love to know that. Some more personal details about him. And then with you too, Melissa, when you're on there, I think as well, I mean, you kind of went through how, what happened leading up right to your boss, but then, some things with you, like when maybe some of the stories of the people that you signed up, some of your favorite, people that you signed up that turned into business builders, whether they were right away or they became, and how to, what I mean? The details, I think would be super inspiring, not only to everyone who's already a team member, but to these new people coming in. I think to really hear the details.
I agree. I mean, that's one of the things I've been learning a lot lately, just about successful businesses, no matter whether it's network marketing or any business, but stories sell. They do. Stories sell.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's a fine balance. We've been down the road both ways, where we were too product heavy on business overviews and didn't get enough into the business model. And people who are coming in wanting to understand the business were still confused about how the business actually worked. Most people don't have an attention span for more than about 30 minutes. So that's always the challenge, to have a blended product and business overview, But I have done overviews before that share a little bit more about my physical journey. But I think it's great feedback. To your point, stories sell. Stories sell more than facts every day. Okay. So here's what I'm working on, guys. I'm going to show you an example of what I'm working on. And if you guys want it and you can play with it. Man. So if anybody's tech savvy and wants to color coordinate or anything, you can. But this is how I grew my business consistently. I made a chart like this, and I printed it out, and I made a stack of about 50, just like the leader in action forms. And I pulled one out, paper form, every week. I traveled a lot, so I'd keep it folded like in my calendar and my notebook. So no matter where I was, so if I was in an airport or in my office or in the field in a hotel, I always had this with me. Because are you ever in a place where all of a sudden you've got 30 minutes because you're waiting on someone else, no matter whether it's kids at a basketball game or at a doctor's office or in a carpool line, like whatever it is? How many of you just pick up your phone and you just start scrolling? Like, you're just like, well, I guess I'll just thumb through and see how I can grow my business, right? Somebody just made a comment. I can't see them while I'll have to look at it after I'm done with this. Never again will you be at a loss of what can I do to be income producing in these 15 minutes that I have. I used to do this in the pockets of between conference calls. I'd have like a 15-minute lull between calls, and I'd pull this sheet out and be like, okay, what can I do? So what I'll tell you is, what you can do is take this calendar and ask yourself, how much on a daily basis am I willing to commit to my business? And you can assign time to each category, like connect with 5 people. Like you could make that a 10-minute commitment, right? Now, connect with 5 people can look very different on different days. But if you make your goal every day. Like for me right now, my goal before anything else to grow my business is connect with new people every single day. 5. That can look like expanding my network on social media. It can look like me going to the gym and meeting new friends and following them and having them follow me on social media. It can be me getting an email from the school about volunteering to work the book fair next week. And I volunteered twice on 2 different days. I love my children and I want to be involved, but it's also going to plop me down around a bunch of women that I don't know. And I get to check the box. So that is connecting with new people. So you guys see what I'm saying? That connecting with new people can mean different things to you, but the goal is that you're doing it every day. So if there's a day that you're not out and about socializing and meeting new people, then you need to lean on your social media platform as your revenue stream, your income stream, by building your network, right? So I've tried to break it down so that you have pretty even amounts of activity that are in the 3 different I's. If I was really an obnoxious pharmacist that had the time to do this, I'd color coordinate it for you so you could see where your invest is versus invite and introduce. Here's how I ran mine. I would start on Mondays, right? And on Monday morning, every day of the week, what are we doing? We're on the get calls, right? If you're not on the get calls, you're grabbing the recording. So somewhere in your calendar every day, you should have 30 minutes allotted to the get calls, right? What I have on Monday mornings on top of that is who are you texting to remind to be on get calls, okay? Because if you're on the line, you're a leader. If you're on the line, you want to be growing this business. If you're here tonight, you want other people to be engaged, growing, and building too, right? So it should start to become a knee-jerk reaction for you that on Monday mornings at 7:50, I'm firing off the contact information for the 3rd time to Fred Zippel because he said he was interested, he's enrolled, and he wants to grow a business. He needs you to remind him to dial into these calls because he's not going to remember. He doesn't know what he's missing, right? Many of you probably had your upline do this to you, right? You got to get on these calls. You got to get on these calls, right? So that's up to you. That's on you, right? And then I have every single day connecting with 5 people. Now, here's another income producing activity that you should be focused on Mondays and Tuesdays. If follow me on this for a minute. If you're filling your pipeline every day, if every day you connect with just 5 people and start bantering back and forth, by the following week on Monday, you should have an entree of opportunity to invite people to the opportunity overview. You should be building your funnel to ask people on Mondays and Tuesdays, would they join the overview, right? Now, I also have on Mondays to review your first Autoships for follow-ups. What do I mean by that? For all the people you've enrolled that month, everybody's on an Autoship. Nothing's worse than a mad customer because they've gotten a new box of product on their front doorstep, not realizing or knowing that they were put on Autoship because they didn't read the email that you sent them. They didn't pay attention when you were talking to them. Plus, if you once a week just look in your back office at your reports of where your first, like if you're on Mondays, you should be filling out your leadership and action formula anyway. So if you're filling out your leadership and action formula, you'll be able to see how many enrollments you've made that month. So I can quickly look. I did this morning, this Monday. I was like, ooh, Natalie, my neighbor, right? I do this because she lives right there. I'm like, I enrolled her this month. Her Autoship's got to be coming up. So I went into my back office to see it's October 6th. I have it written down over here so I don't forget to chat with her about her Autoship before it comes so that I can coach her through how to manage her next shipment and talk to her about how she can get her products for free by sharing with other people if she's had a great journey, right? But you're only going to have that conversation if you make it a point. And if you're recruiting, if you get busy connecting and filling your pipeline, it can get really easy to forget these people's Autoships and coach them before their first shipment shows up. And you don't want to do that because you want the opportunity to talk with them another time about paving it forward and getting their products for free before their next shipment comes, right? So So you review your Autoships and then fill out your leadership in action formula from the last week and post it and run with me. Show us what you're doing, what you've observed. Now, what I did here is the next thing I have, and I have it every single day of the week. You should be active on social media. I don't care who you are, you need to be present with your network so that you're front and center in their minds. Doesn't have to be Isagenix. Maybe your passion is puppy dogs. Post about puppy dogs. You need a brand. People need to be reminded of you. It's important because if you're talking to them in church about Isagenix and they seem interested, and 3 days later you make a post, even if it's about your cute new kitty cat, they see it and it triggers their mind to follow up with you. I see it all the time on LinkedIn. I'll put some random post up and someone I haven't sent a message to in like 3 months, like literally that day, within seconds of me making that post, they respond to me, right? So being on social media is not just about selling anything. It's about your presence, your reminder of who you are, what do you represent? You know, if that's your family and your dogs and your kids or your sports or basket weaving, like whatever it is. Okay, so you can spend time thinking through what you're going to post. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be complicated. That's up to you. If you want to spend your weekend or you want to spend some time at some point during the week planning out your social media content, then go for it. I have a notes section in my phone. And when I'm listening to a podcast and there's like a quote or like a theme that comes through and I'm like, wow, that's gold. I put it in the notes section of my phone as something inspirational I'm going to want to transfer and duplicate in social media to be inspirational, right? Or a thought-provoking comment. So I'm constantly a sponge of what am I hearing, what's striking me in a way that's impactful, and let me save that for a post at some point. You don't have to be that complicated. You can just be being you. You can just make amazing, beautiful posts of your beautiful face like Terry does and your shakes, and it reminds people that you are loving life and feeling good and looking amazing, right? Like, that's up to you. This call is not about coaching on social media, but you got to be doing it. Okay. Critical, 15 minutes of personal development, right? If you want to commit to growth and motivation and inspiration, you need to be working on, picking up a book 15 minutes a day. Just put down Netflix or put down Facebook and Instagram for 15 minutes and invest in yourself. If anybody wants to jump on board, Jennifer, Christine, and Dawn and I are reading John Maxwell's book, The 21, what is it? Something leadership. The 21 Laws of Leadership. We're going to be reading that over the next couple of months. Couple minutes a day. All right. So that's Monday. Tuesday. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but you guys get the gist that I have income producing activities in here each day of the week. A couple of minutes for each activity, right? So connect with 5 people, maybe 10 minutes. Follow up with invites to the opportunity overviews. I have that specifically on Wednesdays. Why is that? Because the opportunity overview was on Tuesday. You want to strike while the iron is hot. You want to see if you can get those interested parties on a 3-way call with your upline. You want to make sure you're at least once to twice a week checking in on your team Facebook pages for announcements like Global Exec and Run With Me. You want to check in with your new enrollments once a week just to make sure their journey's going well, right? And so where I want to, see right here, I have look at your back office at the opportunity for consultant creation or rank advancement creations for anyone on your team. You can actually run reports to look for that. That's for another day. So anyway, I tend to start out real heavy on Mondays and Tuesdays, try to get everything I can in throughout the week. And I make weekends cleanup, Saturday and Sunday. When I was working full-time, Saturday and Sunday was a lot of when I put in a lot of work, but I was always consistent in connecting Monday through Friday. I was always consistent in putting 1 to 2 hours a day in over the day. It was just never a big chunk, right? If I had 15 minutes, I was connecting. If I had another 15 minutes, I was posting a social media post. If I had another 15 minutes, I was working on personal development. Does this make sense, guys? Is this helpful? Is this something you could use if I were to send it to you? You guys want it?
Yeah. Yes.
So if you used it, do you think you would follow along with it and track it?
Yes.
So I mean, this is what I would suggest for you guys. I'll email it to all of you who put your names in there. You can play with this. You know, the time slots probably aren't going to work for you. I just arbitrarily threw them in this spreadsheet. You can make it your own and commit to when you're going to work on this stuff. I will tell you it's dynamic. Every day is different. You're going to get curveballs, but that's why I love tracking it, because let's say on Thursday, you've got a child with a fever who's throwing up all day and you don't get to any of this. Well, now you have a visual of everything you missed that day, but the good news is there's always Saturday, there's always Sunday, there's always Monday to clean up and catch up on what you missed. All right, let me stop the share. It is late. I have learned that it's about progression, not perfection. Yes.
Where did you want our emails? Here or in Run With Me?
Oh, in Run With Me. Yep. Posted in the Run With Me thread. For those of you that want that little spreadsheet and the deck. And edit it. Put your own income producing activities in there. Add stuff. Any of the other leaders on the line want to speak to anything that I missed? Anything that you add?
Actually,
yeah.
Hey, Melissa, thanks for the overview.
Yes.
I actually want to just tag just exactly what you just said to make it your own, because I've seen that before, and the way I've customized it for myself and the way I've been able to, let's say, win challenges is because I customize it based on the challenge goals. Mm-hmm. So if most of you are going to become an executive, that column to create consultants should be your, like, I don't know, 80-90% of your time, your effort, because that's your goal. Mm-hmm. So I would challenge you all to kind of look into, you know, your goal and kind of work backwards. Like, okay, if you're thinking of consultants and executive as your main goal, you need to have 10 consultants, right? 5 and 5. So look at your even current enrollments and see how you can coach them to become consultants. And like, I went really heavy with like recruitment and consultants, but then it was like, I didn't have time to coach them to like grow, make them grow. So like all my consultants dropped all down because I didn't have the time to like spend and nurture and like hold their hand and walk them through it. It happened so quick. So I'm taking this time to actually go back to those people and like bring them back on board again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So totally agree, make it your own and have a goal in mind too, because that what keeps me going. If I don't have an end goal, like that piece of paper every week is just another week. You know, you got to have a goal, like otherwise you're just going in circles and circles and circles. So like you had a goal of your cycles you want to hit. Mm-hmm. You have an idea like where you want to be. Like we all have to make that commitment, and might be something like you're not believing yourself. You can hit like whatever, like 3-star, 4-star, 2-star, 1-star. It doesn't matter. Cycle bonus. Just write it out there and visualize and work backwards. So I'm personally committed in doing that. And that's definitely one of my things that I'm going to be working on right now. So
I love that, Christine. And you brought up a good point. And it probably, that spreadsheet should be heavier on assessment of consultant creation. That was kind of, I tried to create one thinking back to when I was building, and I'm still building, but I've got exec status. So I forget that I once a week go into my back office, and I know you do this too, Jennifer. Like I usually do this on like Fridays. I go into my back office to see, you know, I count my consultants and make sure I've got the right amount on each side. And it gives me Saturday and Sunday if I need to, you know, take some major action because I don't want to fall off as exec. So I do it once a week, but it's actually good practice for me. I mean, who doesn't want 20 consultants, to continue to just, lay them on heavy. So really good point. Any other comments or thoughts from the group?
Yeah, I'd just like to say one more thing, I guess, coming back to everything I keep talking about. We have a great team, right? Some people that aren't even in leadership positions right now, but I just, like I said, I love the stories, and I know it would just be really interesting, I think, to get people back on the line again, like different people to tell their stories about. I love signups. Like, I love hearing if it's a business builder or it's a product user. I just love to hear how it happened and all the details about it. So I don't know if we could get people on the call, like at least one person for 10 minutes, of any call, just to hear a bit of a story. I just really love them.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, like even Christine, I know you're on the line there. I don't know who else is, but even like you ladies on the West Coast, like I love, I told you that today, that I love seeing your posts and stuff. And you just had that big event, like, that I saw you guys having. It would just, and people that have events, it would just be wonderful to hear the recap of events. And, especially along the lines of who was signed up and why and how, and how successful the events were and what worked, what didn't. It would just be wonderful to hear these kind of recaps on these things. So
yeah, no, for sure, Terry, we can certainly funnel that up. And I think you'll probably get a good bit of that at the event this weekend, if I had to guess.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, guys. Kristen says, very excited to put this into action once I get situated with baby boy, once he finally decides to arrive. Been busy getting everything in place for those covering my maternity leave, but looking forward to being able to focus more on the biz. Gotta love it when you're looking forward to having a baby so that you have time to work on your business. Oh, I love it, Kristen. All right. Well, hopefully you and Nicoletta, maybe you guys could meet up while you're on. Oh, Nicoletta's already off of maternity leave. I was going to say you guys could meet up for while you're on maternity leave, but Nicoletta had to go back after 5 weeks, which is just insane. I get it. I mean, I understand why. It's the whole residency thing, but she wasn't going to she wasn't going to be able to move over to her next fellowship or whatever if she didn't go back to work. But anyway, it's kind of makes me sad. All right, guys. So I'm going to call it a night. Hopefully this was helpful. What I would love feedback on is, what do you want training on next? Where do you guys want to go from here on our call next Thursday? We can do deeper dives on reports. We can get into compensation. There's all kinds of great training, but I just need to know where your gaps are, what you want to work on. And between now and then, start working on those income producing activities. I hope you guys have a good evening. Good night.
Good night.